Hey, this is the day the Lord has made, and I'm going to rejoice and be glad in it. Anybody else? Come on, give a shout out. Our team here. So excited to be with you, KSLM listeners, today. Beautiful day in Salem, Oregon. So today, Pastor Lou, Pastor Andrew are not with us today. They are actually on a plane, so they're not here today. But I have the honor this morning of having, or officially this afternoon, of having a guest here, Cassidy Trout with two T's.
Yes, with two T's.
Two T's. So Cassidy, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a local mother.
Yeah.
And, I've been speaking out at the school board meetings and working with other community members to form groups such as SK We Stand Together and Salem Kaiser Education First. And we've just got a lot of parents and community members in our community who are fired up about what's going on in our schools.
Yeah, so you must be super popular.
Oh, yeah, very popular among the school district.
Amongst the school district. Very popular. You're invited to all the parties and on the Christmas list there, getting Christmas cards. Okay, that was a joke for people that aren't humorous. So Cassidy, there really is a lot going on in the school system. Now, I will say this, I'll give a disclaimer. My children have never been in public schools for some really obvious reasons. In fact, I'll tell actually my quick story about my public school story. And again, I want to tell people a disclaimer that there are some amazing teachers out there. There's amazing people that work in the system. We are in no way dissing them. We're in no way bringing them down. We appreciate those that are in the system that are doing an incredible job.
We've got a lot of amazing ones.
Yeah, we really do. Okay, so we're not focusing on that, though we give them praise and stuff. We're focusing on issues and the problems that need to be really taken care of. So my quick story with the public school system. Now, I am going to be 57 this July, so I've got a few years on me. But I grew up in Alaska, and I went to a kindergarten and first grade in the public school system. And so imagine that's a long time ago, and went to the public school system. After that, after first and second, kindergarten, first grade, my parents actually put me in a Christian school that had just opened. And, great education, great time. And years later, I never really just had any questions until years later, almost as an adult or young adult, I said, hey, Mom and Dad, I so appreciate you, sacrificing and putting me in that Christian school. But, why was it that you did that? And this I didn't know because I didn't remember this, other than I do remember being hit in the face by a little boy and that was not fun. That can happen anywhere. But my parents said the reason they did that was because I would pray over my lunch, and the teacher, now this isn't every teacher, but that particular teacher would make fun of me. And I had the same teacher for kindergarten and first grade. So they removed me out of that. And that's what parents do, right? They see a problem, they see an issue, and if it's not going to be corrected, then they change things. So anyway, that's my story with the public school system.
And I grew up in the public school system.
Oh, you did?
I did.
From K to 12?
From K through 12.
Okay.
I attended schools in Bakersfield, California.
All right.
That's where I'm originally from. I moved here about 5 years ago after my husband got out of the Navy. We came back here to his hometown.
Yeah.
But what I'm noticing now is a lot of parents think that their kids are getting the same experiences in public school that they got in the 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it's completely different.
Right.
Back then, whenever I was in public school, I see now where things started going wrong. I know whenever my own son was in kindergarten, probably 8-9 years ago, he had a teacher tell him that he wasn't allowed to pray at school.
Must have been related to my teacher back then.
Must have been. Okay. Just minding his own business in a corner. And the teacher asked what he was doing. He said, I'm praying, I'm having a hard time. And she said, well, you can't do that at school.
Oh, my goodness.
Of course, my son, knowing better than that
Good
he can pray wherever he wants.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah.
But there's been a shift in our public education
Totally.
system, and it's not focused on education anymore.
Yeah, education to me, from what I'm seeing, right, the information I'm getting and receiving, reading and all that, is that really the education part is really secondary, right?
It really is.
And somebody could say, well, that's not true, but the truth is that it is secondary. It's very obvious, because if we now make it, which our previous governor now made it so that you don't even have to read or write to graduate, right?
Yes.
That means that education is secondary.
I agree. Education has been
Right.
put secondary and been replaced with social emotional learning,
Yeah.
with feelings, with political and social agendas.
Right.
It's really sad. We're failing our kids. Our district is really bad, one of the worst in the state, and our state is one of the worst in the country.
Yeah.
Our kids cannot compete on the national scale, and it's sad. It's scary. I believe, now don't quote me on this,
All
but
right.
it was
You heard
around
her.
a little over 70% of our high school graduates who go on to higher education have to take at least 2 years of remediate classes because they're so far behind.
Which is so unfair to them, because that's expensive. That costs them money, or their family, whoever's paying for it. That costs
That's all
them
their
money.
FAFSA grants. That's all that money that
Yeah.
they got for free. My education was paid for on FAFSA grants. I
Okay.
didn't come from a well-off family. I
Uh-huh.
came from working parents.
Yeah.
And so my trade school was paid for by FAFSA grants, and obviously more on top of that.
Sure.
But if I had gone to a traditional school and been behind, then all of that money would have just paid for what I was supposed to learn in high school.
Yeah. Which, like you said, that's a broken system. It's so sad what I'm seeing, and like you said, it's really not fair to the children. Their children are children, right? So they're children. They don't have anything to compare it to. So whatever they're learning and they're experiencing, to them, that's quote unquote the normal, right? So, and I think you're so right, Cassidy. So parents, maybe they grew up in the public school system. They had a good experience, or at least fairly good experience. They graduated, or at least got their GED. They didn't have any super crazy stuff going on, and so it is kind of safe to assume that their children are going to experience the same thing. And I think what I have seen, and not judging parents at all, especially those that are really trying to be involved in their children's life. But a lot of times what I'm seeing is that, parents drop off their kids at school, or they get picked up on the bus, whatever. And the kids go to school for 8 hours a day, I don't know, upwards to 9 hours a day, depending on the situation. And, maybe mom and dads, go to the parent teacher conference, but that's it. They're literally their most precious gift, their children. They're 100% entrusting these children to complete strangers.
Absolutely. And different ideologies,
different
and
ideology.
agendas, different values, different world views.
Yeah.
These adults that our children spend so much time with, they don't necessarily hold your same beliefs. They don't necessarily hold your opinions.
Even more so now, I think, percentage-wise.
More so, especially now, because a lot of our teachers of faith have left the districts.
Yeah,
our
right.
teachers have been walking away in droves, and it's really scary. There are still some that are really holding on and fighting, and they have hope, and a lot of them are faced with the fact that they can't leave. I mean, they've put their whole career into this, and they're just that close to retirement and their benefits, and if they give up now, then that's their whole life's work.
Right.
But they go home every day and they are torn, and they have to speak to God, and they have to ask for the strength to just keep moving on and fly under the radar. And it's tough, and I feel for them. But we need them there too, because those are our kids' safe places. We see all these signs that say this is a safe zone and this is where you're free to be me. Well, my children don't feel comfortable there.
No.
My children don't feel safe whenever they're surrounded by these ideologies and these things that are being pushed upon them.
Right. And that's actually a really good point, right? The agenda that's being pushed right now is all inclusive, don't judge, all inclusive. And the truth is that agenda, that group is one of the most judging, exclusive group. One of them, right? Because, like you said, for your children, they don't feel safe. They want to go and pray. Pray in the corner, stressing out. Take a moment to pray over their food, ask the Lord to bless their food, and they're really getting, they're getting targeted. They're getting picked out. Somebody I know that works in the school system, she said, she'll be walking in the halls and see a boy and girl making out, right? And
that's probably put mildly.
Right. No, but she said the sad thing is she almost wants to go congratulate them. Not that she's going to,
yeah.
but not that she's congratulating them making out, but it's a boy and girl, right?
Yeah.
Instead of other situations going on, right?
Yeah, the things that are going on our
right.
campuses are they're out of control.
Yeah.
We have no dress codes. They have standards, behavioral standards, but they don't hold them to any point.
There's no accountability.
No, my son's in high school, and I'm on his campus a lot, probably a lot more than he would like me to be. But I am there, and I hear the kids talk, and I see the way that they dress, and I see the way that they treat their peers and treat their teachers,
right.
and I see the behavior that is accepted by the adults from the students.
Right.
And I just think to myself, man, if this was 10 or even 15 years ago, I mean, these kids would have all been expelled.
Right. No, exactly. But there's no the lack of confrontation, the lack of accountability, all because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, right?
Or because we don't understand their culture.
Because we don't understand their culture. It is literally producing another generation that has no respect for authority, has no work ethic. Now, I'm speaking generally, right? So I know that there's still people that have work, all those good things, but we're really producing
the minority.
Yeah, that it's sadly now the minority, right? And so they're coming into adulthood, and why work, right? Why work? The government will take care of me and that kind of thing. Why have any respect for anybody? Why? And then the lack of respect for life, right?
The lack of respect for life and the lack of ability to critically think nowadays. These kids, they're told what to think, how to think, what to do, how to act, where to be, but they're not taught how. They're not taught how to figure out complex problems. Now, don't get me wrong, our district has some great programs like our CTE and CTEC programs that are teaching in a different way. Great. But in the actual school building where the majority of kids are, those practices aren't being put into place. Yeah.
It's just sad. And again, you hit where they're the good, founded, people that are in there, Christian or not. I mean, just people that really love children. They have good intentions. They want to sow into these kids and stuff. They're under so much pressure that they're leaving, which of course leaves it even more because there's less resistance, so to speak, right?
And it leaves the door open for people who are unqualified, who are coming into these positions in order to have access to young minds to mold. Our standards have been lowered not just for our kids, but for our educators. We've got first-year teaching students teaching our classrooms full-time. There are teachers being hired every day that have no degrees.
I didn't know that. That is crazy.
Yeah, we have such...
Should we do that for our nurses and doctors?
Exactly.
I mean, no.
It's really sad and it's scary now, and I understand there are some areas where experience pays off.
Sure.
Whenever you're teaching technical skills, stuff like that. Right. That is great. I completely understand it. But if you're teaching my child math and English, I want you to be proficient, and I want to know you are proficient.
You have a caller? Well, let's take the caller. Exciting. All right, let's find out who our caller is. State your name.
My name is Ron from Salem, and I'm going to address 3 issues. One, you have to watch people that's, homeschool, and a lot of our kids goes to some continuation school because they have college professors. But when you get teachers that's pushing down their genderization through that, and then use a racist group like LUS, that means Latinos Unidos Siempre. That's shameful. Parents need to come out no matter what color and hold these people accountable. And as far as they care about LUS and the conflict of interest by some board members, where they shaming, having the kids cuss down the school board members, one of them resigned, is shameful and dishonorable. And I pray that your city will get a backbone. I've spoken because I'm that little black redneck from Polk County.
I knew who was on the phone.
Walk with Jesus.
Uh-huh.
I grew up 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Maxine Waters, who superseded my my city councilman at the time period, Gus Hawkins.
Uh-huh.
The result is what you're seeing in real time on accountability and everything else. I'm just blessed that God guided me with a good memory and 102 IQ.
All right.
And the point was, I had foster care. After 77, my dad went to wife number 3 and put me and my little sister in a foster home. But my first foster father was Sinatra. My second foster father was Tuskegee Airman and flew 126 missions. And 77 years ago, he went to Vienna and had to supervise that and supervise with the Polish and the Russians all over to the modern area we call Lviv, one of the few blacks that would walk into Texas from Alabama. And my foster mom, who raised 500 foster kids and adopted her kids 70 years ago this month, there's no free lunch. The main point I'm trying to reach out to is through the faith we have to lean on, whatever choosing.
Uh-huh.
2, we got to teach our kids not be their kids' friends and a name because it's woke. Because as you can tell, woke is breaking our kids.
That's true.
With Kate Brown cutting down our kids, the educational sense, we may get 18,000 plus a kid. We're fourth in education and spending. But we're dumber than a box of rocks like Maryland, Minnesota.
And you know how dumb Box of Rocks is. Okay. Okay.
But the point is this, honey. If we don't stand, you're the school board election this come and ask God and seek who we need to represent from our communities, and the Republican body better get a backbone and not just talk. Marion County, act. Reach out to the flock. Love your flock. Protect thy flock.
Yeah.
Didn't Jesus commanded Peter on the rock? Yes, he loved him very much. But nevertheless, we have to walk by faith, know our history, and know it not by sight, but by divine providence. And history is God's providence in human affairs. That's Daniel Webster.
All right.
His hand. If you don't understand your past, you cannot live it. You cannot improve things in the present, and our children will, if you don't show the backbone, won't have a future.
Yeah.
That's the fact. May God bless you, ladies.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Be alive because I need some Deborahs, I need some Jokebels, and I need some Miriams.
Yeah.
It's time to come on out.
Amen. Amen. We appreciate you calling in, brother.
Absolutely.
Bye now.
Okay. Have a good day.
And, you know, he's right. He's completely right. Our school board elections are coming up. That's why I'm running for school board
wonderful.
director of Zone 2.
Nice.
These are our most important elections, in my opinion. You know, these are our children. These children are going to be running our country in 15 to 20 years, and that's really scary.
Yeah.
If you walk around the mall and listen to how they talk, or if you, go to a drive-through and you notice there's nobody working. It used to be that's where the 15, 16, 17-year-olds started to, learn that work ethic, learn how to
flipping burgers, or,
take direction, learn self-accountability,
right?
Those simple skills, and they just don't have it anymore.
No, and I believe, obviously, in God. I believe in miracles. I believe in those things, and certainly God can intervene, but God is not going to override someone's will. And so you have these children that are, like I said again, that are being raised up with a lack of education, a lack of tools, resources, other than, government resources. and whatever they're hearing, they have no reason to doubt it, right? A teacher recently here in the Salem area said to her students that it's not really fair to call a fetus a baby, right? Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of maybe she's one of those that you said not even fully educated yet. I'm like, even medically, or even let's just even say, put aside medically, that a fetus is a baby. Again, that thinking, that proclamation is getting to our children that, again, this is just a blob of tissues. It's just a fetus. It's really bringing down the value of life. These children, my heart just breaks for them, because they're not being uplifted and saying, you are made in the image of God. And let's just say that they aren't told that, but you have value, you have worth, you're incredible, you have amazing giftings, all these things, speaking life. Instead, well, you're related to some slime, best a monkey, and you're just an
animal. You're a victim.
You're a victim. You're just an animal. So act like one. I mean, if I was a student nowadays in the public school system, and I had, the teacher had given me a project to do, I had to do a speech and had to have a little, a little slideshow and all that, and worked hard because I want to get an A. So worked hard, studied, did all this stuff. And the student in front of me, before me, gets up in a hamster outfit, taking a dump in a litter box in the school, and gets up and goes, meow, meow, meow. I'm sorry, it was a cat, not a hamster. Meow, 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 and does a whole speech in meowness. And the teacher is forced to give them an A. I, as a student, would be like, why did I just spend hours studying and researching? Well, I could have got up there and went, and got an A. I mean, it's literally taking these students that really want to work hard, that they want to have, they want to put in.
And we really see that with them removing our honors programs in our public schools. They've taken them and they've embedded them into the English and math classes. And, a crazy story last year, one of my son's math teachers, he was a freshman. We were parent-teacher conference, and we're talking about, how he's doing, and he's always been great in math, great ahead.
Bless his heart.
Wonderful.
I hate math. Okay.
And me too. And his math teacher is explaining to me how their tests are done, and he lets me know that they're all done in group or open book. And I'm thinking, and I ask, well, how can you, test that they're, capable and that they can move on to the next step? And you know what he told me?
Do tell.
He told me, why do these kids need to memorize this stuff? They have their phones. They don't need to fill their brain with all of this stuff to just memorize.
Because there's hardly any space in your brain.
Most of the kids, they're not going to use this stuff anyways. They just need it to get by. So they can, if they ever need this, they can use their phone. They need to, use that brain space for the stuff that they need. And I'm thinking to myself,
I'm laughing, but it's so sad.
It really is, because how can our children master complex skills and, if they can't understand the basics?
Well, it's okay. Cassidy, there's Google.
There is Google.
There's Google. There's phones. There's electronics.
Well, and
it's okay.
It really is scary, because if it comes down to it, are engineers going to know basic math? Are doctors going to know basic biology?
Robots are going to do that. So robots are going to do that, so we don't really. So here's the thing. So why even send our children to school? I'll tell you why. Babysitting. I just said that out loud. Right? People rely on that. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying everybody, but there are folks that rely on that for babysitting.
And we see it every day. The lack of parental involvement is crazy, which is why I understand and I see from the other side why a lot of these, bleeding hearts want to implement all these programs, why they feel that they need to take these children under their wings. Because there are children in situations who need that guidance, who need that help, who don't have supportive parents at home, who don't have parents to take them to the dentist or to the doctor or to give them that moral support or that shoulder to cry on.
Yeah.
And it's sad, and we need to help those kids.
Absolutely.
But that's not our school's job. That's our social services
Come on,
job.
that is true, and it is. You're right. They have overreached their boundaries, right? So yeah, again, I mean, if anyway, oh my goodness.
Now we have great county programs for stuff like that too.
Right, and are those encouraged? Are those encouraged?
Not as much as they should be. I think our district is trying to take everything on. They're trying to take on security. They're trying to take on medical. They're trying to take on social, emotional. They're trying to take on everything but education.
Yeah, so
and they need to go back to
So whoever the control freaks are need to chill out. Okay. Because I have control issues myself. I understand what that's like, and even let's just say you have some people that really have actually good heart, right? Good hearts. They really want to do it. Maybe they don't know God and stuff, but they still have a good heart. And like you said, they're wanting to do all this stuff, but you still need to work within your boundaries, in your lane.
Absolutely.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane. I tell people that all the time.
Right.
We are passionate about 100 different things, but you can't make real change if you scatter yourself everywhere.
No, that's true.
You need to focus on what your goals are,
Absolutely.
what your outcome you want is, and just stay in that lane.
Stay in that lane. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know that we pray for our school, our teachers, our principals, those that are working in that arena, and we pray for them that that they really their hearts, if need be, change. Their minds become clear, right? Because these are, again, our children, that we're talking about, our precious children that are going to become adults. So I wanted to bring up this to you, and actually we talked about it before, but for those listeners that don't know. So again, talking about school situations and things that are happening that shouldn't be. So recently, a teacher you talked about addiction. That's a good thing to talk about addiction, right? And there's all sorts of things that can, you can be addicted to. You can be addicted to food and TV, and you can be addicted to, they had a picture of cutting. There's addiction in, even exercise. I mean, people can become addicted to that. There's all sorts of things. So the teacher was talking about addiction, which is great. But one of the things that they included was literally the Bible.
Yeah.
Literally a picture of the Bible with a cross on it. Now, they did not put a Quran on there. They did not put a Buddha picture on there. They did not put
religion
the coexist.
The
coexist bumper sticker. They didn't put that on there. They literally targeted specifically the Christian Bible. Now, I wouldn't have had a problem had they actually had that coexist thing, kind of, the whole combined thing, or if they would have had the word religion. But they said, even things that seem good can be bad. And I find that very, very pointed and, wrong.
Very pointed and deliberately leaving out certain aspects that it seems people are very addicted to right now, which is social justice issues and political issues. I mean, people are addicted to them, and we see it every day on our campuses, in our streets. We have a business in Sherwood. We're up and down in Portland a lot, and man, they say Antifa's not real. It's real, and it's everywhere. And this is scary, and we're in a scary time. And for them to target specifically the Christian religion through the Holy Bible, and I have a friend whose daughter was going to recess and decided to take her Bible with her just last week. And a teacher approached her and told her, you can't take that, and took the Bible from her.
Oh boy.
And I mean, this parent is not happy about it, and I'm sure she's going to raise Cain, and there's gonna be complaints filed, and she needs to, because it's, when else would her daughter be able to read the Bible at school?
Exactly.
Recess is the only time, and their excuse that they give was that they didn't want the Bible to get messed up at recess. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know about you, but our Bibles are supposed to be worn.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. My question is, and of course, this is only, I mean, it didn't happen, but how about if that little girl had the Quran?
Exactly.
Would it have been taken away from her?
Absolutely not.
That's my thinking, right? Because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So there's a lot of just brokenness out there in the system. There's a lot of very much targeted, and still there are people to this day that go, I don't know why you keep saying the church is under attack. I'm like, I don't know what you're watching. Well, actually, I do know what you're watching. Turn it off. Anyway, but it is really Christianity / the church is under attack.
I think Judeo-Christian values in general are under attack.
Yeah.
Our way of living. I mean, if the things that are trying to be normalized in our society, the hypersexualization of our children.
Oh my goodness.
Everything. And if you look back to other societies throughout times, it wasn't always bad. You look back to the Roman times, the Greek times.
Yeah.
The abuse of children wasn't frowned upon. Those are our values.
Right.
That we know that it's wrong. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So
we're not sacrificing our children.
No.
Well, I mean, Christian, values are we don't sacrifice our children.
Exactly.
Like some other cultures. Right. Lives matter.
Yes. And we were made, in in his creation. And it's just, it is really scary.
Yeah.
And we really do have a spiritual war going on.
It is spiritual for sure.
We can't deny it. No matter how close or far away from God you are, you know he's there, and you know that there's a war being fought against him.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, our timer hasn't been on the whole time, so I have no idea of how we're doing on time. So just a heads up on that. I want to make sure that we're stay on track. It's just, when we're talking like this, Cassidy, it can seem so hopeless, like why even try, right? Like what, it's just overwhelming, right?
Yes, definitely it is. And
but we shouldn't give up though.
Yeah, and we've got parents every day who are discouraged, parents who've been fighting back on this for years, and they're like, why isn't everybody up in arms?
Yeah.
Why is it just me? Why is it just the same group showing up and voicing our concerns? Because we know other parents are just as concerned. They talk to us about it every single day.
Yeah.
But they just don't have time because they're so busy being involved in their children's lives.
Right, sure.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fun sound.
Yes, that was some kind of timer.
No, and again, I honor the parents that are out there. They're working hard. Maybe both mom and dad are having to work. Maybe that's not because they want to, but they have to. The economy is just ridiculous right now. And so they're having to work to support their family. They love their children. They're doing the best they can. And in those cases, I do give grace with the understanding that they're just hoping that their children, to chew the cud again, that their children are getting the education that they have before, that they got, and but it's just not, and they're not.
They're not.
And so,
and we have to stop now, and we have to make change now because as a small business owner, it's already really hard to find employees.
Yeah.
We can't find anybody to work.
And tell us why. Why is it hard?
Because people don't want to work. They've been given handouts. They don't have to work. And it's and even the ones that do need it, they don't have the skills, or they come in with minimal skills at an entry-level position expecting to make manager wages.
Right.
And, I grew up in a world where you had to work your way up. You had to start at the bottom. You had to learn. You had to, get there. And over time, then you became, at the top of the totem pole. And it just doesn't seem that way. It seems like our kids are being raised entitled. That they have things handed to them. They don't have to work for them. What does happen to them isn't their fault. They're victims. They've, been dealt this horrible deck of cards. And we used to be taught perseverance. We used to be taught to overcome obstacles, to navigate through, certain situations and to learn from the mistakes. I was taught that failure isn't failure if you learned something from it.
Right, absolutely.
So, and those are what we're not teaching our kids anymore, at least in the mainstream. Like I said, we do still have some great programs, some great clubs, some great things that are teaching, and we need more of that. We need to expand on those things. We need to teach our kids civics again. We need to teach them, community and involvement and success and what it means to be a successful community member.
But isn't success just showing up? I mean, isn't that success?
Well, whenever there is equal equity.
Participation award. So I didn't have to, I think of sports or different things where these kids, you've got your kids, right, that have been raised with perseverance. They've been raised that you work hard to get where you're at. And so, they're practicing whatever they're doing. And then you have a kid that's, I showed up. I got an award too.
Well, and you see it in our sports right now too. We have an issue with our athletes who aren't making grades, and they're not being held to the standards that they are supposed to be held to. If you are failing classes, you are not supposed to be able to compete, to participate.
That's how it's been, and it makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, that's not the case anymore. These kids are failing, and they're just being passed along. Well, and what are these coaches thinking? Okay, so you have a star player who's, doing wonderful. What's their future going to be? Because they can't get into any college that wants them on a scholarship if they don't have the grades anyways.
Right.
So you are pretty much ruining their futures by not pushing them in their act. And our district has so many different opportunities. So maybe that kid's not the best in English or math.
Sure.
But maybe he can learn auto shop.
Yeah.
And maybe he can learn woodworking.
Right.
And he could learn a valuable skill that those other, qualities are integrated in.
Right. Well, and I think too, I mean, I'm not a sports person. I mean, in high school, I played volleyball and stuff. But, my husband, Pastor Lou, he was heading to professional football, right? And it was, you worked hard. You dug in, you worked hard. And of course, his whole story, in a quick nutshell, is he ended up about to kill himself when God intervened. So anyway, his direction of life turned completely different. But so and a lot of these kids, they're like, I'm gonna go into football, I'm gonna go to college football, and then I'm gonna get on a major team, I'm gonna make millions of dollars. And those are great goals. I would never squash anybody's idea or goal of that, but the truth is a very, very small amount reach that. Yes, right.
I just read a stat that said 3% of high school athletes actually go on to play college.
3%.
3%. And that's at any level. That's even their backup players.
Really?
3%.
Wow. So here you've got somebody, right, that's failing, right, in school, but yet they're still allowed to go on the field or, whatever sport they're in. And so they're like, I don't need school. In fact, I recently had somebody, not here in this state, but had somebody in their teenage child was saying, I'm just going to quit school. I'm just going to quit school because I don't need this. I'm never going to use it. Right. That's one of the things. And I'm just going to quit. Because I'm gonna just go into a career and I'll be fine, because he's a child and he doesn't understand how things work.
Yeah, at this point, my 13-year-old thinks that he's gonna be a professional NFL player because he's 13 and 6 foot and 170 pounds of pure muscle, and so why wouldn't that be?
Sure,
his
I mean,
goal?
You think that was be a shoo-in, right?
Absolutely, but it's not.
It's
and
not.
even if you do make it, and even if you are that 1 in a million that does make it, that's a very short career. So if you don't know how to manage your finances after that short career or build something to sustain you in your life after that,
right,
then what? You're just somebody who used to play football and used to have a lot of money and a nice car and some nice houses.
Yeah. My husband, last time we were in his state that he went to high school in, anyway, he said, I'd like to find those guys that, I went to school with. And he said, honey, I'm going to go find them. And I said, well, how would you know where they are? He goes, I'm going to the bar. Because he knew that's, and sure enough, not all of them, but there was those that were at the bar still talking about high school days. They beyond that, it's not that their life
Isn't there a Taylor Swift song about that?
I don't
yelling
know, maybe
at the TV about your high school football
probably,
days.
Yeah,
it's it really is sad. You see it all the time.
One of the guys ended up buying the bar because he was there so much. Just buy the bar, right? And I'm not against people talking about the good old days. I mean, I think we all do that. But if that's where you're stuck, right? And my concern is these kids, that's where they're going to be. They're going to be stuck in a place where all their eggs are in one basket, right, so to speak, and they're all just all in. I'm just going to be that professional football player, baseball player, whatever it be, right? And they don't make it for whatever reason. I mean, I know a gentleman that was heading to professional softball and injured his shoulder. He hadn't even got to the professional part yet, and literally that was it. That was done. That was over.
And just like that.
It's
over.
And again, not that I wish anybody harm or to have, but life happens. And so if you don't have that education, going back to the school, if you don't have an education, if you don't have, and I tell people all the time, it's not like you have to go on to college. There's lots of school, you can learn welding and tech schools, right? Different things you can do.
Absolutely. College is not for everyone.
It wasn't for me.
I didn't go to traditional college. I went to school to become a medical assistant and went from there,
So there's lots of things you can do, but still there's basic things that you need to know. Yes. Have I ever used algebra? No, I have a calculator. Okay. But there's basic things. And so, you're talking about that teacher. Well, you don't want to fill up their brain with all this stuff because they need room for others, which I hope that he was actually joking or realized that the brain we use, I think the stat is like 5 or 3% of our brain. I mean, so really we have plenty of space, but so if that's the belief that we don't want to fill up our kids' brains with too much so they have room for others, well, what are you wanting that other stuff to be filled up? So they don't
need to take away their social media and TikTok and all this time that they're spending on their phone if we're worried about their brains getting full of nonsense.
Or at school they're teaching them about stuff that has an agenda, right? Because you're indoctrinating. Somebody told me, you're preaching. Yeah. I said, you know what? So does the comedian. The comedians preach. Late night show guys, they preach. Everybody preaches. It just may not be behind a pulpit with a Bible, but people preach, right?
Absolutely. I think that, we're all being told from somebody what our mission is, what we're supposed to be preaching about.
Everybody's got an opinion, right?
Whether it's education or it's just really sad that our school system is trying to raise advocates. They're trying to raise social justice warriors.
Yeah.
They're teaching them these skills in the wrong way. They're not trying to raise civil servants. They're not trying to raise pillars of their community. They're trying to raise people to tear it down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really sad because there's going to be a consequence to these actions. We may not see it tomorrow, though I believe we see it now, right? I think there's already, because the generation even before, right? So we're seeing the consequences of those things, going back to whether it's Antifa, BLM, all these groups that they're actually, most of them, that my experience is most of them are just hurt young people. They really don't have a direction. So it's really essentially a gang, right? It's substitute for family.
That, and I mean, we never know the struggles that people went through. And
no,
a lot of people are neglected. They, especially from a young age, we live in a lot of poverty. I mean, we've got homelessness, we've got drug abuse, we have lack of parental, guidance. We've got it all. And as a community, yes, we do need to step in and help each other and guide each other and lead each other.
And challenge each other.
Yes, that's something that our community is definitely lacking, is that civil discourse. People cannot have conversations on things that they disagree on without it becoming a yelling, screaming match.
Right.
And we can't have a civil society that way. That's how we grow. That's how we build, is by learning from each other. And if you don't go into every conversation expecting to learn something, then you're not going into the conversation in the right way.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. My philosophy is that anybody I encounter, right, is fighting their own Goliath. They're going through their own challenge, their war, whatever it be. It could be they lost a pet. It could be that they don't have money for a bill. They could be they lost a loved one. Their marriage just, whatever it be, we're all fighting something. So we do need to be very gracious and merciful to each other, right?
But also hold each other accountable.
But hold each other accountable, right? I mean, I don't care if you're an atheist or you're way over here on the other spectrum, right? That we can come together on some pretty basic human things. And that's to be kind to each other. I mean, just because I disagree with somebody doesn't mean I don't love them.
And treat people with dignity.
Yeah, and treat people with dignity. Absolutely.
And that's what, all of this inclusivity that is being touted in our district and in our schools is it's just a facade. It really is. Yeah. They don't want true diversity. They want diversity as long as it fits in their box.
Right.
And it's really sad because we are a very diverse community. We have so many different religions and races. We have a wonderful Islander community that is just, huge, and they are so connected with family.
And Russian community too.
Russian community is, it's just wonderful, and we really don't want to hear from them unless their opinions align with ours, is what I've heard from the district.
Oh boy, that's so sad. Now we have a little over 8 minutes left. Cassidy, what is some of the things here that you brought you want to share with folks on this?
A few months ago, I was working on a recall of 3 of our school board directors, which I'm not going to say was unsuccessful, because we were very successful in waking up the masses as to what was going on in our community. A lot of people had no idea. We talk about these books in our schools. Yeah. And people think, oh, it's just a book. It can't be that bad. And then you show them the pictures.
I've seen pictures.
And you put it in front of them, and they're like, are you serious? This is what you're talking about? I thought you were talking about just, little books here and there. You mean this is what they're teaching our kindergartners? Yeah. And with those 14,000 people who signed our petition, plus more who wouldn't sign because of the fact that they were scared. People who worked for the district or worked for the state.
They didn't want their name on it.
They didn't want their name on it because they know once it's submitted, it's public record and anybody can get it. They're scared of backlash. I get it. Okay. But once people started waking up to what was happening and seeing, it really started spreading like wildfire.
Very good.
And people are still talking, and we got to keep that conversation alive. Yes. Because, like I said, school board elections are coming up in May. Yeah. And it is the most important election that we can have, because these are our children. These are their futures. These are our futures.
Right. Well, the thing for those, did you say 14,000 didn't sign?
No, we needed 16,300 in order for the recall to move forward. Okay. We only gathered around 14,000.
So how many approximately didn't sign because of fear?
I would say at least, well, I can't speak. We've had tons of people circulating. Just for me, I would say I encountered at least 25 to 30 people who were like, we're there for you. We support you. We'll tell all of our friends and family, but I won't put my name on it.
So it was 20, 25 people just for you.
Just for me. And we had probably 20, 30 people circulating the petition regularly.
Times that by that, if those people will just vote the right way, right? That's not public record of what they voted. So at least not yet. But anyway, then that can help change things.
Absolutely.
Right?
We can make a lot of change. Just be active. Nobody votes in our school board races.
Oh my goodness.
It's such,
it's crazy.
It really is.
Well, these things, and for those that don't know, literally the pictures, I don't even need to look again. I've seen them before, but the things that are teaching your children with the pictures, if you or I or anybody in this room, anybody had those pictures on their phone, no doubt we would be arrested for child pornography.
During this recall campaign, we sent out text messages to about 30,000 people. The first text message I put to send, the carriers wouldn't let me send it because it was considered pornographic material.
Because it is!
Yeah, and I thought, well, how ironic. And, the company that we went through, as much as they supported us with, like, we understand there's an issue, it needs to get out there, but we just can't put it out on our platform because the carriers will cut us. They'll fine us. They'll, and
but
I was like, are you kidding?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is one question I ask for those that are really pushing this agenda that, or at least are like maybe in the middle. They're like, whatever. So, so just last night, my 6-year-old daughter informed me that she was going to marry her dad. Okay, and so I said, "Well, honey, he's married to me." Nope, I'm marrying Daddy. You can marry him too, but I'm marrying him. So Daddy now has, not technically, but anyway, in her mind has 2 wives, but that's cool as a 6-year-old. And so I told my husband this morning, laughing, I said, "Your daughter said she's going to marry you." And he laughed, and we laughed because that's not going to happen. But and I'm being facetious here, but why not? We're allowing everything else going on. Timmy and Susie that are brother and sister, let them get married. I mean, where do we stop? Where is the cutoff? Right. And, we have people and I really do. My heart goes out to the struggle they have with their body dysphoria. But these people that, I'm now, this or that, which is not who they really are. Where does it stop? So now, I'm an American, but let's say now I want to be, British or, an African or Chinese.
It doesn't make sense. And that's the thing, it doesn't.
But I'm just being facetious here. But if we're doing that, where does it stop?
And that's the thing. I think that they're trying to blur those lines. And if you look closely, there is, the hypersexualization of our children. They're pushing stuff on our children younger and younger and younger. And it doesn't end well.
No, it does not.
It never ends well.
No.
And we can't allow it. Our kids need to be allowed to be kids.
Yes,
they need to have these agendas taken out from in front of their faces.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. I'm not naive to know that my son's going to drive down the street and see billboards with half-dressed women.
Right.
They're going to see commercials.
Right.
They're going to be introduced
magazine
to stuff
covers,
at school.
even at the, store.
Absolutely.
Stuff,
But it used to be school was the safe place where you didn't have to worry about them encountering those things.
Right.
Yes, we can, teach them on the outside world, but we didn't send them to school thinking that they were going to be supplied these materials.
Right. Well, I think, it's sad, and we're down to 3 minutes here, but I think it's sad when we have people in the school system, school system, that they literally believe that the parents should have zero to little influence in their children's lives.
I had a assistant principal tell me that we should leave the education to those who are educated. So I decided to run for school board.
Good for you.
Yeah, they just really don't think that parents are capable. They really think that we are naive, that most of these parents are highly educated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parents who are ex-educators themselves who maybe left the profession a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they're getting pushback, and we're not uneducated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Are there some parents out there that are, I'll just say it, bad parents? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not in denial of that. But those of us that we really need to voice our concerns. We need to get in there like you felt to run. We need to vote, all those things to help fight against what's going on, to protect our children, really.
Absolutely.
Right?
Our children need to be protected, and it's our job to do it. We're their parents.
We're their parents. God gave us, I don't care if you believe in God or not, God has given us children in our care, and we're responsible for them.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's not just to feed them, right? Not just to feed them, but it is to, in all areas, I love it, quote unquote, love it when parents say, I'm not going to teach, to have my kids go to church, or, I'll just let them figure that out. Wow. How's that going for you with potty training? Just don't give them direction. Yes. Just let them figure it out.
That's why we raise our children.
It requires an effort. Right.
We guide them.
Absolutely.
Shepherd them.
Well, Chastity, we have less than a minute now. You want to say anything else in ending here?
No, just I really hope that our community keeps the fight up about our schools. I mean, stay active, pay attention. We've got a lot of things that our district is trying to push, and one of the scariest are health centers on our campuses.
Right.
So we really need to get involved.
Do that. Well, we appreciate you listening in with us with KSLM. We are so thankful for KSLM. Lord bless you all. Have an amazing day today. And remember to vote when you need to. And, stand up for what's right. All right? All right. Blessings. Yes, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. Chastity Trout. Look forward to getting to know you more. All right.
Even better.
We got.
Thank you for listening. And as always,